So from these three meals that I made them from scratch instead of buying a version of it from I think that's what you intended it to be, from a local place. I bought ingredients from local places. I fudged a little bit because I'm pretty broke, but I got chicken from my uncle, the chicken that was in the enchiladas, and the chicken that was in the chicken, rice, and vegetables dish. That was from my uncle, and he lets his chickens free range in his yard. So, really good, healthy meat without any steroids or a natural diet for the chickens. Uh, I know that's not a local place, but, market thing, but so I got that. I got some corn, which is my grain, from I can't remember which store, but I got corn from there, so that's my grain. And for my vegetable, yeah, yes, my vegetable, I used fresh cilantro that I got from my plant that I have that I got from Lowe's. So, yeah. And so those were my local fresh things. Um, and as far as the food was concerned, um, the chicken and rice was the first one I made. Mine was a little bland, but you could taste the chicken, you could taste the rice, you could taste the cream, the heavy whipping cream I used. You could taste the cheese and the celery. In the frozen meal, you really could only taste that breading that they put on top of it. It wasn't the best. I took what was left of that, and I scraped it into a bell pepper and baked that another day, but that wasn't one of my things that I did for this project. Um, and then with the enchiladas, uh, I tried the frozen one again the next day, like out of context from like having mine first, and it wasn't as awful as I made it out to be in the video when I had it after my homemade one. It still wasn't the greatest. You could taste more of the flavors, like the pepper and the cheese, better the second day on that. Um, I used a red sauce on mine, which I should have looked harder at the box and saw that it wasn't a red sauce, but I I didn't film the whole process of me prepping the food because that would have taken forever because I only have one good knife, and I cut everything by hand because I don't have any food processor or anything. So, and the chicken took a while to cook on the stove because I put it in a pot with some water and some tomatoes and the pepper. That I used a poblano pepper instead of a green chili or jalapenos. And I just let that all simmer together with what else did I put in? I didn't use a recipe for any of this because I've watched my grandma make these things so many times, and I kind of was just going off of memory, and they actually turned out pretty good. Um, but I put the pepper in there, the chicken, the tomatoes. I'm missing something, but it was boiled all in there with the chicken. And then I strained out the juice. Oh, and a packet of enchilada seasoning with it. I strained out all the vegetables and the chicken, and oh, onions. I put onions and garlic in there. Well, I strained it all out, poured the juice from that on top of some rice that I had browned in a pan because that's how my grandma told me to do it. Put those in the oven so that it could cook, and then I started shredding the chicken by hand, and then wrapped them in some flour tortillas, and put them in the pan. I put a lot of cheese on top, but I love cheese. That's one thing that I know is too much fat, probably, and not good for me, but I love it, so I do it anyways. And then my salsa, I actually made a little change to that as well. In the video, I had left it in big chunk form, but it wasn't sitting right on the chips, and the flavors weren't melding as well together because, it's left in huge chunk form. So I I took out my salsa again, and I put it on a cutting board, and I started to mince it and turn it into a paste by hand because I don't have a food processor. So that took a while, but I got it down to about the same consistency as the store-bought, and mine has so much more flavor. The flavor of it is it's not spicy, but it's not too salty, but it's got more of that than the store-bought. The store-bought, you could taste almost the vinegar in the background. I didn't use any vinegar in mine. I used fresh cilantro, fresh green onions, fresh sweet yellow onion, fresh tomatoes, fresh garlic, fresh poblano pepper. I cut all of that up myself. The only thing that wasn't fresh that I put in there was the sea salt and the pepper that I put in there. And the lime juice, because my lime was starting to go bad almost. So I squeezed the juice into a container, and so I just kind of put that in there after, because I had that frozen in the freezer just to keep it from going bad. And it turned out really good. My roommate, he's not too picky of an eater, but he's kind of picky of an eater. And he seemed to really enjoy my salsa. Oh, I put some black beans and corn in there as well, because that was in the enchilada. I forgot to say that. Which I had cooked when I did the enchiladas. I put it in the pan, cooked it just, so that it's the right texture and, actually cooked, which is, I think, how you're supposed to eat it. Anyways, and so I put some in the salsa as well as with the enchiladas. But, and it all worked out really well, and I'm very happy. So my salsa is not as red as the store-bought salsa, but that's because of the black beans and the poblano pepper, because I cooked the poblano, and I used a whole pepper, which might be too much for some people, and I used 4 cloves of garlic, so also probably too much for most people, but I really enjoy those, so yeah. Well, this course has kind of reinforced how I see eating. I have changed my eating habits a little bit, not a whole lot. I'm eating a lot less meat now, but that's also because I can't really afford meat. I love meat. I love the flavor of it. But I've also started eating more vegetables. I have the celery that I got for the dish. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get a whole bunch of it, and because I like celery, and I will eat it. And it's a good snack. It's a really easy snack to just take to class with me for the days that I don't get to come back home. So, and then yeah, and I've also been watching my portion sizes a little bit better. With it being in school time, we get so distraught or busy, and so we don't eat healthy portions or healthy foods. And so I've been trying to be more aware of that this semester, and it's really helped me it's helped me mentally stay more positive, and because when your body doesn't feel like crap, you don't feel like crap. Yeah. I'm gonna try and keep this up a little bit more. I work in food at an amusement park, so working 65 hours a week, you don't really get a chance to have healthy foods in there because the cafeteria doesn't really have anything fresh or healthy, really. Um, but I'll try and pack more when I go into work. Um, yeah. Um, I do have to say, I really enjoyed In Defense of Food a lot more than um, What the Health. Because What the Health, I just felt like the entire time they were just bashing meat and dairy and all of that completely. Um, and I definitely did not feel like it was I think they need to get their facts checked on that one. Um, a lot of their stuff it it just kind of seemed like slander against meat and dairy and you know. But in defense of food, that film I did enjoy because he wasn't bashing one specific kind of food. He was talking about how it's important to have a balanced diet. It's important to watch your portion size because, you know, one little thing is not going to kill you or save you. But if you have a lot of it, it's not going to be good for your body, and your body's going to shut down, and, you know, you're going to have problems. So I really enjoyed In Defense of Food because of that. It was, and especially when they were talking about using fresh ingredients, and gardening is a good stress reliever. I don't have many plants here, but that's because I'm barely home and I forget to water them. I do have an aloe plant because he can survive if I forget to water him for a few weeks. But when I'm back home over the summer, I usually have a garden in my backyard and we grow green beans because those grow like weeds, tomatoes, and sometimes we even grow pumpkins and watermelons. They didn't do too well last year, but the year before we had like entirely too many watermelons, and I think we ended up with like 50 pumpkins. And we don't put down fertilizer or anything. We just kind of till up our field, and because we have about 10 acres of land, we just till it up and just plant things and just like a bunch of things. And so like the pumpkins we had way too many of, and then the watermelons we had about 20, and like I think in just the month of July we had about 20 watermelons they were huge. I don't even know what to compare them to. They were that big. But I'm trying to branch out a little bit more. With this project, having bought like I did have to buy the tomatoes and the poblano peppers, but I saved the seeds, and I'm looking forward to planting those this summer and growing some peppers and some of the big tomatoes that I got. Hopefully they do very well and I get to use them. All right, that's about all I got. If you want my recipes for my enchiladas or something, I can probably write them down and maybe remember them. um, but yeah, so it was great having this class. I enjoyed it. There was a few things that I did learn, and a lot of it I already did know, but I'm glad I wasn't just imagining those things and like I was like, oh, so that actually is a thing. But I really enjoyed the course. Thank you guys so much.